This episode of Digital Photography Cafe is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera, and by Daisy Grip, for a child's smile for a photographer's camera.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe. I'm Trevor Current, your digital marketing guy.
And I'm Joseph Christina, your professional photographer.
So grab a latte, pull up a chair, and join us as we chat about the art and business of photography.
So hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Last week we talked about Polaroid's new instant camera, Twitter follow suggestions in your inbox, and Facebook's scheduled status updates. If you haven't listened to last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it on iTunes, listen in your car through Stitcher Radio, or simply head over to the website, digitalphotographycafe.com, and listen online.
So Joe, we are back, episode 61. We made it through the 4th of July weekend, right?
Yep. No missing fingers, toes. We are good.
Everything's still intact.
Everything's intact. So how about you? What did you do this weekend here?
We did the family thing. We had some fun with some of the relatives and stuff. We got together and had a little picnic and went and did some firework display over a lake by us, which is always really nice. And then just had some fun for a couple of days with the family. I tried to lay off work as much as possible and enjoy the pool, and did a little bike riding and stuff like that. So it was fun.
Nice, nice. I alluded to going to Key West, and
so you went. That's cool.
Yeah, we ended up going to Key West, so that was a lot of fun.
Jimmy Buffett land.
Yes, we did visit Jimmy Buffett's little area, Margaritaville, and we also went to where he records, like his little recording studio, which you would never know that was his recording studio, because it's not like, publicized in any way. So that was kind of cool. So we saw, we went snorkeling, we did fireworks, the whole 9 yards. It was really cool. It had a lot of fun. The kids enjoyed it. It was nice.
Yeah, Key West is a lot of fun. I've been down there with some buddies a couple times, and in our late 20s, early 30s, and went for the diving and the partying, let's say. And we had that place. If you're looking to have fun, that is a fantastic place to go.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it was a lot of fun.
It's adult fun.
Yeah,
it's adult fun.
Yeah. I mean, one of the nights we took them down Duval, and I'm like, I don't know if we should or not. We did, and I'm like, oh my God, this place is like nuts.
You see all kinds of stuff down there.
It was great. I mean, there was one guy, there's scooters everywhere, right? And of course you get the one drunk scooter guy that decides to take out a guy on a bicycle, and you got another lady crazy. That's drunk pushing her husband. Her husband like locks his foot like underneath the wheelchair, and she like jackknifes him. Like, I mean. Oh God. I mean, just crazy stuff. I mean, there was drag queens. It was just, it was a lot of fun. I mean,
kind of like Las Vegas in the tropics.
Yeah. No, it was really cool. I really liked it. I definitely, I want to go back with my wife and just be able to go and hang out and do, just go and enjoy.
It's a nice getaway. They got some beautiful beaches there, some nice water.
Yeah.
If you're into the snorkeling, it's great snorkeling. If you're into diving, you can dive down there. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. We had a lot of fun. Yeah, the snorkeling was a lot of fun. It was really cool. So, but anyways,
awesome.
Kind of moving on from
some big news this week, my friend.
Yeah, I heard that we got some crazy numbers happen, that we finally released these videos to the public through iTunes, right?
Yes, we did. We talked about it a while back, and it kind of takes a while sometimes. You've got to get the hosting squared away for the video format. Right. It is very large, and you're dealing with a lot of bandwidth, a lot of storage.
It's not cheap, right?
Yeah. So, by the time we get that all squared away, and then, of course, get the, the feeds and everything squared away, it all takes a little bit of time. But yes, It's finally in iTunes, and man, we had some crazy numbers.
Yeah.
We got it in there. It hit live on July 6th. And we were ranked number 86 for digital photography. And that's huge. I mean, digital photography, it's a very popular search term.
Sure.
Just shy of photography, of course, which is the general term.
Right.
Then on the 7th, we jumped up to 25, which was like, whoa.
That's, yeah. Yeah, that was big.
On the 8th, we jumped to 23, and then today on the 9th, we jumped up to 18. So that's a huge movement from the day we launched.
Yeah, we have to thank everybody for subscribing. And
Absolutely.
if you're listening through audio, like we've said, we've been trying to push this multimedia thing because we're trying to give you as much content as possible. And we're not going to charge you any extra for it. It's still going to be free.
It's all free.
The big free. But yeah, definitely subscribe in iTunes. If you haven't subscribed to the video, look for Digital Photography Cafe, and you'll see 2 feeds. One will be audio, one will be video. Go ahead and subscribe to the video, and take a look-see. As you'll get to see our ugly pusses on here. And but you'll also get some content that you won't be able to get just by listening in your car or whatnot. So
yeah, that's right. That's right. We're trying to bring more of that visual element into the show because we are talking about photography, and photography is a visual medium. So we'd like to be able to do more demonstrations. If we're talking about equipment, we'd like to be able to show the equipment. Not that we're going to focus 100% on the video and forget about our audio listeners. We're not. Anything that we show in the video, we're going to describe to the best we can. But it's just a richer experience, let's say.
Right. No, absolutely. Well,
So, yeah, absolutely. Please, everybody that, thinks that you'd want to see the video, definitely please go subscribe. That really helps us out a lot. The more subscribers we have, the higher in the rankings that will show up, the more notice we'll get from the team over there at iTunes. Hopefully we'll be in that new and noteworthy again real soon. And that really helps the show grow.
Yeah, one of the other numbers that when we were looking through this, which was really amazing, is we finally hit top 10 digital photography podcasts, the audio side of the show, worldwide, basically in iTunes. Top
worldwide
10.
in iTunes,
you
that's right.
That?
We're number 10 for digital photography right now,
wow.
which is amazing. I mean, especially when we're surrounded by such great shows as Martin Bailey's and Chase Jarvis and Tips from the Top Floor. TWIP, of course, This Week in Photo, and then Leo Laporte's new show, TWIP Photo.
Right.
They're doing
There's
great.
A lot of great ones,
There really are, and we're right in there with them all, which is fantastic,
Right.
Who would have thought, right?
Who would have thunk it?
A guy in New Jersey and a guy in Florida. And we're ranking up there with the best
crazy,
of them,
crazy.
It's fantastic.
So this week we're going to be talking a little bit about printing. Right, because that's basically what we do. We do offset and we do digital, right? Or chemical. That's like our thing as photographers, and hopefully we're doing a lot of printing.
Right.
But that's going to be kind of like our little topic for today, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And we're going to kind of focus more on the idea of creating imagery for offset printing or traditional printing, such as magazines, brochures, posters, other various forms of collateral displays, packaging. This is all the type of stuff that I've been doing for 20 plus years. And, one thing that we've found over the years working with various photographers and all, even on the commercial side, that a lot of them just didn't really understand the whole printing process.
Right.
So when shooting and when creating the images, doing retouching and such, the images just weren't being delivered to us the way we needed them to be.
And so
production.
The photographers listening to this, okay, we need to, what Trevor's alluding to here is we need to be educated enough that when we go and provide our imagery to, let's say, someone like Trevor that's making, collateral material that goes to an offset press, we are giving it to him or the art director that needs it in a form that they're going to be able to use it. Very, very important. Very important. Critical.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And traditionally, I mean, if you think about printing, there really are kind of 3 forms of printing that we all think of. We think of inkjet, right?
Sure.
Our high quality Epson printers. We think of laser prints, which would be something maybe we go to Staples for, those nice, really nice color laser prints.
Sure.
And then you have offset. Now, within kind of the offset range, there's a whole multitude of other different printing styles. But for this purpose, we're just going to concentrate on the term offset printing, which is really your traditional method of printing. All the brochures you see, all the magazines, newspapers even, they're all some variation of offset printing.
Right. It's an actual press, either digital
It's an
press,
actual press.
or an actual, ink press.
Yes, that's right. It's using ink in a big press, and the press has multiple ink stations, as opposed to like an inkjet printer has ink cartridges.
Right.
These machines are huge. They have different stations that the paper runs through, and each station applies a different color.
And you have a roller. You have the big cylinder that your plate wraps around, and it goes through it, and it applies the right color on each individual plate, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can think of the process, like an inkjet printer. Think of it as like a spray can, a spray can of paint, and it's spraying a mist. It's spraying a dot of color onto the paper. Now, an offset, the way that works is it's basically taking the color ink, applying it to a pad, and then applying it to the paper all in one shot, almost like a stamp, or as if it was being painted, like kind of in one color at a shot. Right. And then it moves to the next station, the next color drops down on top of it, and so on until it comes out the other end with your finished print.
Right. So the idea here, and the one thing that, going back into how it's done, for a photographer, the most important thing is getting it right when you're, like I was saying, when you give it to someone like you. So, and that gets into, profiling. Are you going to give it to them in CMYK? How, what profile, how are you going to give it to them, right?
Right, that's right. Yeah, so traditionally when we shoot, we're shooting in a variation of RGB,
right?
Red, green, blue. Now those colors can make up a huge range of, color space or color gamut,
right?
Which allows us to maintain, these beautiful, intense reds and yellows and oranges and blues and greens and purples, all these colors. The gamut range in RGB is so huge. But in CMYK, or cyan, magenta, and black, which are the colors that are used for offset printing, that has a much smaller gamut range.
Right.
So, for example, if you were to go out to a flower garden, and you've got a bright yellow, and you've got a bright red rose, and you've got a beautiful purple flower, bright purple flower. It's a bright sunny day. You've got the green grass surrounding it, the green leaves. I mean, everything is so intense. You shoot that with your camera, you bring it in, you view it on your computer, and it looks beautiful.
Right.
Now, if you were to actually go and take that image and try and print it through traditional offset printing, CMYK, it's going to look very flat. It's going to look very muted.
Right.
And that's because the color is so much further out of the range of what cyan, magenta, and yellow can handle.
Right. When they're mixed together, and you can think about this as like when you were in kindergarten and you had, all of your paints in front of you, and you had your yellow, and you had your blue, and you had your green, and you had your red.
Yep.
So what would happen, right, is when you would go and mix your yellow and your red, you'd make orange, right? But then if you go and start mixing yellow, red, right, and then put some blue in there, what do you end up with? This chocolate, nasty looking kind of color. It's like a grayish brown, nasty color. And that's because it's actual ink. It's it's paint. It's thick. The light doesn't go through it. So what happens is your gamut ends up being really small. So you don't have the ability to create, this huge gamut of color. And like you were alluding to, let's say you're in a garden. When you look at, let's say a lavender flower, well, it might be a certain color without light shining through it from behind, and that might be able to be replicated in CMYK, right? But as soon as you shine a light through the back of it, that fluorescent, iridescent, beautiful, bright, vibrant color can no longer be reproduced.
Yeah, it's a lot harder. I mean, you can simulate it. You could probably get it fairly close, but you still are not going to have the same color range that you are in RGB. Now, if you're printing to inkjet printers, or even if you're sending them out for chemical prints or what have you, RGB really is probably the preferred color format that your images be in, because those printers are designed to handle a larger gamut range.
Right. Most of the printers now, they do either sRGB, or some of them even do straight RGB. And the new ones are going to be doing the Pro RGB, which is even a larger color gamut, which is huge. And I remember, you know, CMYK is about 25% smaller, the gamut, than just a standard RGB. So you can imagine, you just lose 25% of your color just right out the get-go, as soon as you go, you know, CMYK. Now, for me, you know, I prefer to edit in RGB and then convert later on. I convert at the very end, the tail end, whereas many people that are illustrators, or many people that are working for a final product that's going to always be in print, they will always edit in CMYK because it will never go anywhere else besides there, right?
Right. Well, yeah, that's it. When I am doing an image for print, and the primary usage is for print, and let's say secondary usage would be for web. Because realistically, I mean, we're not doing chemical prints from these images that we're creating for offset. You know, for like a brochure, or if you're doing an image that's going to be used in a fashion magazine or what have you, that very well could be used on the web as well as in a magazine. But me, as somebody who's shooting the image and then retouching the image for the sole purpose of being for print, I'm going to start right out in CMYK. So I'm going to get that image in, I'm going to convert it, and then I'm going to start my editing and color correction and all the retouching process in CMYK, because I know that that's going to be my final color space.
Right.
Now, if you're, you know, if you can produce it in CMYK, you can produce it in RGB, because again, it goes back to the color space.
Absolutely.
All of CMYK's color range is within an RGB's color range, but not the other way around.
Right.
So you may, let's say we take that flower image we were just talking about. Now, if I take that, convert it to CMYK, it's going to flatten down. Then I'm going to take and adjust the different color levels. I'm going to tweak it, and I'm going to make it look as good as it can within the CMYK color space. Now, that image will look equally as good in RGB, but will it look as good as what the original was out of the camera?
Right.
Probably not.
No, it won't. So the reason why my method to the madness, I guess, or why I do what I do, and I don't start, even if it's going to go to an offset printer, why I still edit in usually Pro RGB, like Pro Photo RGB, or even just a regular RGB, because I want to retain, if I'm going to spend, hours and hours and hours editing something, I want to have the latitude later on, 5 years from now or 5 minutes from now, to do something else with it and retain its colors. I don't want to lose its colors right out the get-go and never be able to bring them back. So, for example, one of the main reasons why we do this, or why I do this, is because many filters in Photoshop do not work in CMYK. Some do, but a lot of the ones that I use on a regular basis, you need to be in some type of RGB. So immediately when you're editing in CMYK, you've immediately just chopped off a whole set of filters that will never be able to be used by you. So it goes into, so for me, my preferred method, of course, would be go work in RGB, the largest, profile spec that you can work in, that your machine can handle. I mean, preferably you're in 16-bit, huge images. But the thing is some machines can't handle that. So I always I prefer, if I'm going to spend, 5 hours on a project or 10 hours on a project, I want it to be as big, as massive as absolutely possible. And then later on, convert it to the smaller pieces and the lesser color or whatever I want to do after the fact. That's my method.
Sure, and you may, once you do all your editing in RGB and then do your final conversion to CMYK, you're still going to have to go in then and edit that, because odds are pretty good that the editing you're doing in RGB is going to be out of that gamut range. Right. But like you said, at least then you'll have that really nice, intense, more vibrant image to use for that web space, and your offset printed version may not be as vibrant.
Yeah, and a lot of it goes into my multimedia, hence the name Allure Multimedia. It's right. I don't know, just like you said, it might be on a monitor, it might be on an iPad, it might be, through the web, it might be, who knows where the final output is going to be, unless you're 100% sure, for me, that it's going, and even if I am sure that it will never see the likes of just print only, I'll still do it massive, just in case, because you know how people are fickle. They're like, I love that so much. Is there any way that we can, we just came out with the new newspaper, or we just came out with the magazine, but now in digital form. Can we get your ad now, but for digital, and now you've just crunched it, and now, all that vibrancy is gone. Whereas, if you gave it to them in now sRGB or an RGB for them to use for their online digital version of their magazine, now they look at something, they're like, oh my God, this is beautiful,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you can maintain it, again, it's going to come back. You're going to do twice the work, or maybe not twice the work, but you're going to do additional work doing the conversion after the fact. But I think it also depends on what your subject matter is too. If the subject of the image is, like in my case, a lot of product photography, they don't have the vibrancy. You know, if you're talking about a piece of chocolate, for example, or a cookie, a chocolate chip cookie. I mean, everybody can picture a Chips Ahoy, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a beige cookie with a pretty dead looking brown chunk of stuff in it.
Right.
So those are never going to have, I mean, the original subject doesn't have the vibrancy. So that's, whether you're an RGB or CMYK, it really doesn't matter at that point. But yes, if you are working with an image with high vibrancy colors, then yeah, I think it makes sense to keep the RGB version, then do your retouching, convert to CMYK, do your color adjustments at that point, and then have just two different versions.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. I ended up with PSDs. I ended up with a PSD or a TIFF that has a dash CMYK at the end of it, and then I know that one goes straight to offset, period. So and then I have the regular one that I have still full color still left in it. So, but what I would like to do is kind of, I don't know, tell everyone exactly how I do my RGB to CMYK conversion, which might be a little bit different than other people, but I kind of want to put it out there just in case, you don't know how to do it. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and take a quick break to go ahead and hear from our sponsor.
Are you frustrated with slightly out of focus images when you know your autofocus spot was dead on? It's simply not your fault. From manufacturer to manufacturer, and even lens copy to lens copy, there are slight variances to the exact spot where light is being focused onto the sensor. Finally, there's a product that allows you to compensate for those variances and make sharper images immediately. Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool, is an absolute must for every photographer. If you want to make the sharpest images possible, then you need to take control over your camera's focusing system. With the Focus Pyramid, you can calibrate all of your lenses on your lunch break. The Focus Pyramid makes lens calibration quick and easy at an affordable price. So give your lenses a new lease on life and take your photography to the next level. Head over to focuspyramid.com/DPC and get an additional 10% off just for being a show listener.
So, all right, guys, we're back. So, as I was alluding to, I was going to kind of get into a little bit on how I convert, for me, from RGB into the CMYK color space. For me, it just simply works. Everyone, there's different methods of doing it, but how I do it is simply this. Most of you guys are using Photoshop out there. I go and hit Edit, Convert Profile, right? Convert to Profile. Now, here's where you have the ability to select the profile that you want to use. This is critical. This, you stop and think about it at this point. For me, I like to contact the, let's say, the printing house and find out what press this is going to be printed out on, and do they have an ICC profile associated with that specific press. If they do, they'll tell you, oh, go to this website and download it. Most of these people are calibrating, and they're sending these ICC profiles monthly, weekly. The most I've ever seen is like every 90 days. So you're going to end up with an ICC profile that's pretty current. the beauty of this is not only can you use that ICC profile now to insert it into what profile you want to convert to, but you can also use it for previewing. So when you're working on a photo, you can say, okay, I want to see this image, but I want to view it in this specific profile. So you kind of get an idea. Are you having gamut problems? You know, you dropping gamut here, there, or whatever. You're blowing out of it here, there, or is this, you know, is the black starting to turn muddy and you're going to have to boost blacks after? You have
and
an
that is
idea.
if you have a calibrated monitor too. If your monitor's not calibrated, viewing a profile on screen is not going to help you.
It's going to be useless. And that goes back into one of the shows back
it all circles around.
Yes, it all circles around. If you're not calibrating your monitor, just stop. Just shut this off now. Okay. You need, if you're a photographer, you need to calibrate your monitor. Do you want to know, you know, what is it? WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. You know, you want to see and at least know that you're calibrated on the side of the color goes. So, and you could do it with Spider, you could do it with Pantone. There's plenty of different methods of calibrating it. You need to do that. Anyways, so you can preview using these ICC profiles, or when you're doing the conversion to CMYK, it asks you what profile do you want to use. So I put in the ICC profile that they have given me for that specific press. That usually that ICC profile is calibrated specifically to the ink that they're using, the paper, and the beauty too is they won't give you just one ICC profile. They'll give you maybe 30, you know, so
for all different combinations of media.
Right, paper to ink to even, let's say, clear coating, like doing like a UV spray over it. You might have a matte UV spray, you might have a glossy UV spray, and that will all change color slightly. So get the right ICC profile. The alternative to that is you can always use a which you would probably recommend, a CMYK, a base, a swap like a V2 or something.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I've always used just the standard CMYK US web coded the swap exactly, because, and the reason being is when, you know, for the type of work that I'm doing, I'm using, you know, high-end commercial printers that have, you know, their own or using a third-party color separator. Now, for those of you that don't know, a color separator is somebody who would take the designer's files and will take the artwork and will bring it into the computer and make all the final setups for actually getting it ready for offset printing. They do what's called traps, where they will take text and make it so it kind of traps into the surrounding colors. It kind of merges into it so it doesn't create a gap, like let's say a white gap around the letters. And they will do also final color corrections to match the desired output. Right. So by using something that's neutral, you're kind of putting the onus on the color separator to make sure that the color is correct, because that's really their job. I mean, that's part of what their job is. Now, you as the designer, the photographer that are preparing artwork, you know, like what Joe's doing, selecting the specified profiles, that's great if you are going to the end printer directly and they give you these profiles. The onus is then on you as far as getting the color correct. That way, if it comes off press and you say, you know, well, I used the profile and I color corrected to that, you know, what's the problem? Then you can at least determine whether it was a problem in retouching or whether it was a problem with the press setup.
Right. Why does my pork chop look green and no one wants to eat it at this point?
Right. That's exactly right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
no, that's exactly right.
So after, you know, so back from the top, you know, you hit edit. You go to convert to profile, pick your profile, then it gives you the newer Photoshops give you an ability to select the engine. You know, back in 2007, 2008, you didn't have this ability, but now you do. I just, you know, pick the standard that it comes, which is Adobe, which is the ACE, which is the ACE. Select that, and then it gives you the ability, here is what's important, render intent. It wants to know, you know, how is this image to you perceived? Now there's 4 different options. You have perceptual, you have saturation, you have relative, and you have absolute. The 2 that are really important are relative and perceptual. Now, if you know, okay, that the target, like the gamut is being blown out, you know that, you know, you're getting, like you're saying, that flower, right? And that flower is being backlit, and you know that some of those purples are going to be definitely out of range that CMYK is just not going to be able to pick up. You absolutely know that. Well, at that point, you want it to be relative, okay? Because then it has the ability to guess at it and say, okay, well, I'm going to push it a little bit this way or pull it a little bit that way. But if it's falling all within the gamut, then you can leave it as perceptual. So you have two different ways. For me, for the most of the time, I'm going to leave it as relative. And that's, for me, it gives me the best. I guess that's the best bang for me for the buck, I guess. But
right.
moving on from that, you got two other options. You have black point compensation, and then you have dither. So for me, you leave both of them on. Black point compensation is checkmarked on, as well as use dither. And that's basically it. The main thing is that you don't want to do, and that I see many photographers doing, is they'll go in and they'll go up to the top, they'll select image, they'll select mode, and then they'll select CMYK. By doing that, you end up with mud, because what you're doing is you're allowing it to guess, and it gives you no latitude to pick, is it relative? Is it perceptual? Maybe it's saturation and we're trying to keep some of the saturation up, or whatever it is. It doesn't give you any ability to change anything. So you don't want to do that. By definitely never do that.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I've used the regular mode CMYK in the past only when I know that what I'm doing, I'm going to be the retouching, the color correction that I'm doing, I'm going to be just completely changing it anyway. Right. So then it really doesn't, for that matter, it really doesn't, it's not really a big deal. Now, see, when you do the conversion, okay, and you go into CMYK, you are going to lose this vibrancy. You are going to lose the intensity of your colors, and you need to bring them back. Now, sometimes to make a brighter color, to make a more intense color, or to make a more appealing color, you need to lose other colors. Right. So, for example, if you have a burgundy, which would be made of magenta, yellow, and a little bit of cyan, okay, cyan will have a tendency to make your burgundy a lot more green. So maybe what you do is you pull the cyan out and you introduce black. Right. And black will keep it a little bit more neutral. Now, for me, when I'm working with chocolate, okay, doing packaging, creating this appetite appeal on the imagery is key. It's critical. I mean, aside from the logo and the other messages on the packaging, I mean, the most important thing is the appetite appeal of the product. And let's say if you're doing chocolate, or you're doing this chocolate chip that we talked about, let's take a chocolate chip because everybody can visualize that. Right. All right. The beige color of a chocolate chip cookie, when photographed and converted to CMYK, is going to have a very green tint to it. That is not appetizing whatsoever. No. So what you want to do is you can actually go in, isolate your cyan channel, and actually pull some of that cyan out and take that data and move it over to another channel, maybe on the yellow channel. Maybe it's on the magenta channel if you need to, add a little more pink to it. Right. And the same with chocolate. Now, one thing that I have found over the years of retouching numerous pieces of chocolate chunks, chocolate cookies,
the chocolate man,
I've retouched it. I will take 100% cyan out. Right. No cyan in that at all. Right. And that will allow the milk chocolate to look, more appetizing. It'll be warmer. It won't have a green tint. And the same goes even if you're dealing with dark chocolate. Even though dark chocolate kind of visually looks almost black, I mean, it looks almost like dark brown. The fact is, it is still very red in real life. When you see it under, like packaging out on the shelf where they did not go in and remove cyan, it looks dead. It just looks...
It just mutes it. Absolutely.
It mutes it. It mutes it, and it really takes the appetite appeal out of it. So these are kind of just things, I mean, this is real high level, kind of beyond what a lot of photographers are going to deal with. But if you are a commercial photographer and you are involved in offset printing, this is absolutely something that you at least need to be aware of and think about. Even if you're not doing the retouching, the final retouching yourself, maybe you're sending it to the designer is doing it, maybe you're sending it straight to the color separator. Maybe they're going in there and tweaking it for you.
Right.
Either way, this is definitely something that you need to be aware of and just to be educated on, because it's only going to make you that much better at what you do.
Right. At giving your product to the next person down the line that's going to be using it for the final collateral material. So, I guess, to kind of, I guess, put it all together. I mean, this is a deep rabbit hole, like you're saying. I mean, we can get into color. There's been Bibles written on color management. It gets to be crazy. The main things that, as far as converting to CMYK, the main things that you want to know is either pick a generic profile, or pick the ICC profile that they tell you to use for whatever whatever material, whatever medium that you're printing on whatever printer you're printing on. And I would recommend using a relative setting when it comes to rendering intent, because this way, if something falls out of the gamut, it gives it a little bit of wiggle room to bring you back in. And then of course, finally, you definitely want to select black point compensation. The main thing is too that, when doing this, there's many other methods of doing this. And a lot of people will go back into gamut warnings and find out where you'll see gray areas in your image where your gamut has blown out from that specific profile picked. And then what they would do is they'll use their select, and they'll select those problem gamut areas and then add or subtract color to bring them back into the gamut of the profile.
Right.
But that gets into, like I said, we're giving you guys a basis of doing this stuff, but it gets very deep and very complicated. But the main thing, like you said, to know is be educated, because if you're going
educated on it, and you know what, if you guys really are interested in this and want to know more about it, let us know. Yeah. Shoot us a comment, let us know on Twitter, send an email, whatever. And we can always explore these different areas a little bit further in upcoming shows. But we at least wanted to give you a good overview of the color space and just kind of things to think about.
Absolutely.
Food for thought.
Food for thought, yeah. Candy bars and chocolate for thought.
Oh, that's it. Pleasant thoughts they are.
That's right. So anyways, before we go any further, let's go ahead and hear from one more of our sponsors.
Have you ever tried to photograph a child who was on the move and wouldn't settle down? A child who just wouldn't give your camera the time of day no matter what tricks you tried? If so, we have some great news for you. Introducing the Daisy Grip, your go-to tool for capturing a child's smile.
Just think of the Daisy Grip as your third hand. Just place it into your camera's hot shoe, insert the child's favorite toy or puppet, and let the smiles begin. Imagine the storytelling magic that you'll have at your disposal with a ferocious lion or a friendly monster sitting on top of your camera. For the ultimate attention getter, place your smartphone into the Daisy Grip and play the child's favorite cartoon.
With the addition of a Daisy Grip bracket, you can free up your hot shoe for a flash or wireless transmitter.
Let Daisy Grip put the space above your lens to work for you. Make this indispensable tool your new best friend. Head over to daisygrip.com/DPC to get the listener discount.
The Daisy Grip, for a child's smile, for a photographer's camera. Hey everybody, we are back, and we want to thank Focus Pyramid again for their continued support of the show. And, if you didn't listen to last week's show, Focus Pyramid is kind of putting out a really neat offer right now to our listeners. If any of you out there have a popular photography blog, or you're kind of, maybe you're an editor for a printed publication, we're talking about printing here. Right. If you have some influence within the photo community and would like to get a Focus Pyramid unit for review, head over to the website. They've got a whole section there where you can actually click on press. You can go through and fill out a form, and to those who qualify, they'll send you a press kit with a Focus Pyramid unit in there for you to review, test out, and get it up on your website. Let the community know what you think about it. It's really great stuff.
Perfect. Very, very cool. So Trevor, we've always said that that we've recently got more into the multimedia aspect of the show, and we were talking about doing more of the video stuff. And I know last week you did an amazing job at video. And we this week have another really cool video that you put together for us regarding Facebook. So before we go any further, let's go ahead and take a look at this.
Hi everybody, I wanted to share a quick Facebook tip with you. Did you know you can now edit comments that you make on personal profiles or business pages? It's really neat. It's a new feature that Facebook is rolling out, so if you haven't seen it yet, you probably will soon. So for example, I put up a post on the currentphotographer.com Facebook page asking the question about what system do you use to run your website or blog? So we had a couple quick responses shortly after the post was made, and then I added a comment to Christine about her comment. So let's say I posted this comment and I had a typo, or I wanted to say something additional. Rather than posting another comment correcting what I said, or having to go back and actually delete the comment that I put in there and then redo the comment, you can actually just edit it now. So if you hover over the comment that you made, you'll see in the upper right, there's an edit or delete button. If you click this, you can click edit, and it will now make your comment editable. So you can go in, make your change, and then hit your enter key like you normally would to update it. Or if you decide that you don't want to change it, you can just simply press the escape to cancel. And then it goes back to the way it was. Neat little tip. It's rolling out now, so look for it soon.
Just like last week, that was perfect. That was awesome. What great information. Thanks so much. That
Excellent.
was
Thank you. Glad you liked it.
That was good stuff. Editing Facebook comments. How many times, you see these comments come through Facebook, and they're drunk updates. It's like, did I really say that? Oh my God. Yeah. And yes, you did. And you were at the bar, and now what? So editing Facebook comments was huge, and now it's available, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've all done it. Well, not necessarily drunk Facebook posting, but
oh, come on.
But we've all at least made a typo. Right. I know I have, and I get through a comment, and maybe it's a long-winded comment like I like to do, and realize, I posted that. There's a big glaring typo there.
Right.
And the only thing you could do is delete it. I mean, now the beauty is you can edit it, you can go back, you can fix it, you can repost it. But something to keep in mind is Facebook keeps track of the comment iterations. So if you dropped one in there and called somebody a nice foul name or something like that, and you said, that's a little harsh, I'm not going to leave that there.
Right.
I'm going to go in and edit that. Well, keep in mind, it keeps a history of that. So people can actually go back through and view the comment history. So, so you may just want to delete that one.
Yeah. At that point, you delete it. A little typo, or, a lot of times, like, how about if you put, an update in there and you give information on how to do something? You're like, I switched that up or something. You go in there, you make the edit, and that's fine. Like, switching stuff out or whatever. But like you said, you say something that you really shouldn't have said, go ahead and delete the damn thing.
Just delete it. Yeah,
it's going to be there forever to make you look the fool later on. But that was really, it's really cool. I'm glad that they've given us this ability. I mean, it's important.
Yeah. I mean, all these little tweaks that all these different services are making, you hope that they're for the better. I mean, this definitely, I think, is for the better. It's definitely going to be great for people moving forward. And you know what, moving forward, that's what we want to do. We want to try and do more of these little tips, these little nuggets, shall we say, of information that you guys can go and use and get something out of right away.
Yeah, so. Absolutely.
All right, man, I think it is time.
I think it is.
Let's get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And as I mentioned before, if you have any questions or comments, things you want to talk about on the show, things you want us to cover more, go ahead over to the website, digitalphotographycafe.com. Leave us a message there. You can connect with us through Twitter at dphotocafe. So, Joe, if people want to learn more about what you're up to, how can they connect with you?
Well, they can find me on the website at alluremm.com, through Twitter at Joseph Christina, and that's Christina without an H, through Facebook, facebook.com/AllureMM, and Google+. Go to G+ trevplusjc.com.
Great. And you can keep up with me on Twitter at Trevor Current and our other Twitter account at Current Photo. And of course, check out our website at currentphotographer.com and facebook.com/currentphotographer.
Absolutely. So, all right, Trev, we are out of here. I'd like to thank the listeners for their continued support. If you enjoy the show, we encourage you to subscribe for free in iTunes or via RSS to them and have them delivered directly to your computer automatically. Don't forget, you can subscribe for audio side and video now, so subscribe to both if possible. If you're listening on the go, fear not. Everything that we covered during this week's show can easily be found in our show notes at our website, digitalphotographycafe.com. Once again, keep your questions and comments coming, and we'll talk to you next week.